Simone. Thank you for availing yourself and coming onto the show today or to the series, the She Is You series. I'm so happy to have you here and thank you for giving us your time.
Hi, Joel. Not a problem. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
So, can you start off by telling us a little bit more about your own natural hair journey?
You know what? I think my journey is something that is quite a lot of people, I think, as a lot of colored women, as soon as I tell it, they are able to identify with my journey as well. Because I think there are certain touch points that are just quite similar to, I think, everybody's journey. But also, I started out, I think my mom started relaxing my hair because I have an older sister as well. So she started relaxing our hair at about, I think, 11 years old. 11, 12 years old. Started relaxing our hair on a 3 month basis. Let's just get something like that. Every 3 to 4 months, as soon as the natural hair comes out or it has grown out, then she would start relaxing our hair. And I think I was, uh, how old was I when I started kind of doing my own, when I started high school? Obviously, my mom being a single mom, I had to obviously do some things on my own, which I then started learning to blow dry, wash, and also relax my own hair at about, I think, 15 or 16.
Wow.
Fast forward, I think because I was always busy dancing, I just got kind of fed up when I was about, I think, 20. But then my natural hair journey started actually when I was like, I think it was in 2011. So I was interning. Yeah, I was an intern, still studying, and then I was doing an internship. And I just kind of got so tired of this whole relaxer story. And then I thought, okay, let me just grow this naturally out. Um, at the time, I didn't know what it was called, but now I know it was called transitioning. Um, where I literally just like grew out my natural hair. And so I was sitting literally for 6 to 8 months, no relaxers. So the virgin hair came out, the untouched, no chemical treatment hair came out. And I just didn't know what to do with it any longer. And I was so afraid of cutting my hair at the time because we attach so much meaning to the length of our hair.
Yeah.
Um, we attach so much meaning, like, oh, it's more beautiful if it's long, it's more feminine if
Mm.
it's um and then I didn't want to cut it. And so because there was not a lot of information out on the internet, there was nobody that was really speaking my language. I found a few bloggers, which was not as popular at the time. Now, this is back in 2010, 2011. So bloggers and vloggers and the so-called marketing influencers weren't as popular back then. So the
Yeah.
information was quite, what is the term called? The information was quite limited, like really,
Yeah.
really limited. And then I just went back to relaxing my hair because I didn't know how to look after my hair. Nobody understood what was going on until in 2015, the beginning of 2015, I saw my friend literally on the day of Christmas. She did a big job.
Wow.
And I go, what? So we have very similar features in terms of our nose and our structure and the structure of our forehead, our lips, and things like that. And I
Yes.
was like, if you can do the big chop, like what colored girl from Mitchell's Plain cuts off all her hair a few days before Christmas? A few days before Christmas, and you know how much, the process that we go through, making sure that our hair is right uh,
Exactly.
the day for Christmas. So Christmas
Mm.
is very, very important. We all know that. And I was like, no, if you can do it, I can do it. Fast forward 3 months, I let my natural hair grow out, and then I did a big chop myself.
Wow.
My hair was very, very short. I think it was like maybe a centimeter. A centimeter would still be too long. And that's where it was. That's my natural hair journey until now. I've done, I think, 3 big jobs since then. In between, I've done a tapered cut. I did a mystery cut one day with an international hairstylist that I didn't know that was gonna cut my hair in a tapered cut, but then I also just saw, oh, he's doing a cut. Okay, here my hair's gone.
So what is a tapered cut and what is a mystery cut?
So the tapered cut is basically where your bulk of your hair or the volume of your hair sits here on top, and the rest on the sides is shorter than what
Mm,
it is. I'll send you a picture maybe. I don't know if we can send it now, but I'll send you a picture just to show the tapered cut as well.
yes.
The mystery cut, why I said it was a mystery cut, I was called, they asked me to be a hair model. And I asked, okay, so what is going to be done and whatever, whatever. And then they said, no, 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 they might trim your hair.
Oh snap.
Oh, wow. I'm sitting there in front of everybody. I knew that he was going to do some styles on my hair, whatever, whatever.
Yes.
And then the next thing, while I'm sitting there, yeah, I just see pieces of hair coming down. And I was like, this is not a trim any longer. This is not a trim. And then it turned out to be my best, I think, if I could use the term, the sexiest look that I've actually
Wow.
had, actually. And now I do it on an annual basis where I go for a tapered cut. He, of course, is not here. And then I discovered that there's actually a whole art and a science behind this tapered cut. I
Wow.
think I should still have the video somewhere.
Yes.
Um, they had to look at my eye and how they had to certain somewhere about my eye structure and my nose. And yeah, so I was like,
And you
okay,
loved your mystery cut.
I loved, yeah, I call it a mystery cut because I really didn't know he was going to cut it. And I
Yes.
found out, oh, it's a tapered cut.
Yes. So tell us about KroesRocks. I see you have the earrings. Please show us the earrings.
Yay.
Beautiful. You guys, the people who are going to come to She's You, you guys were gonna get that pair of earrings in your gift boxes, and now we had to postpone the event. But yeah, next time.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell us
So,
about KroesRocks.
so KroesRocks actually started with me, with my own journey. So, like I said earlier on, that I didn't have a lot of information out, like when I was transitioning, until
Mm,
I did, only until much later, 2015, 2016. Then I discovered some other bloggers on there, but they weren't really speaking my language. And
mm,
I didn't quite, well, based on the content that they had on the time, I didn't feel like they understood what it means when your hare gemins het and
yeah.
what it means when your swallows fell off in the middle of the night.
Uh,
What it means when, for instance, your hair is not doing what. I just didn't feel that connection with the content that was out there. And I thought, if I am feeling like this, if I'm feeling as frustrated, I'm sure that there are other ladies as well that doesn't, or that also can identify with me, to understand what it means when your swallow falls off, and to understand what it means to be so anxious to go out without your hair being, straightened, and to
yeah.
understand when your hare gebom het, and to understand when the swallows fell off in the middle of the night, or when the swallows made that
Yes.
lie. Your
And now
forehead,
you're just stressed. Are you gonna cover the line?
how are you going to cover? And so I was like, no, man. I think there's one thing. I think the term cruise is a very derogative term. It is referred to as being very unattractive. And it was mainly used way back. It's from obviously a very Afrikaner type of understanding and discourse, basically. And I was
Yes.
like, no, man. Let's just change this thing in terms of my natural hair, and also understand that I think a lot of people think that there's a difference between having cruise hair and natural hair. No, my natural hair is my cruise hair, and my cruise hair is my natural hair. Because I
Yeah.
also work out my, that's how it grows from my scalp. And I started, like, with my journey, I started then documenting it on my personal Facebook page. And then I just started, I was like, oh, my Cruzara is lekker, my Cruzara rock. And then
Mm.
I started using the hashtag. And then other people started using the hashtag. And I felt some kind of way. I was like, no, this is my hashtag. And then I started the business, because then I went to a, what do we call it, a flash mob
Yes.
on, and it was a group of girls just from the Cape Town Naturally Support Group. And then we all just like, okay, we're gonna do a flash mob. And I was like, okay, how can I stand out here? What is just gonna like make me stand out and celebrate my Krusare, even in this already quite, close knit community of women. And I
Mm.
thought, okay, t-shirt would do it. And thereafter, this business started when people started ordering T-shirts from me. And then I thought, okay, what else? What else can I do? Because then there was so much demand and so much interest now that it's actually like a registered business now.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, so I need to do something else. What did I need when I started my natural hair
Yeah.
journey? The one thing that I always depend upon, because especially once you've done your big chop, you kind of feel empty and very, not empty, you feel naked, you feel very
Mm.
exposed. And because I don't have piercings, that's another story for another day. My oma, I can't have piercings. My oma can I can't. Uh, Not I can't, it's just how I grew up and it was
Yes.
known advice. And no. And then I was like, okay, earrings. I need earrings to kind of make you feel a little more dressed. And then
Yes.
I launched a few earring. This was one of my first original sets when it just launched. And then that took off. And the rest, as I say, it's history, but I believe it's still in the future. So yeah,
Yes.
that's
Do you
where,
remember?
that's the business in itself.
Yes. Do you remember that other earring you have that looks like a comb that has the cruise
Yes,
rock?
yes. I
Yes.
don't have, yeah, 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 yeah. So
So,
that is still part
someone,
of it.
yes, someone who teaches with me, she's always wearing that. So
Oh,
when I saw it, I
wow.
was like, ah, Chris
That's the thing. There's so much history and there's like so much meaning and even attached to that comb.
Yes,
It's a symbol of great hope and great strength,
yes,
especially for us as Black women. Especially when we look at this, when we look at slavery and we look at decolonization.
mm.
Uh, so yeah,
So tell me, Simone, what is the mental health implications that come with natural hair? Because we're talking about empowerment through natural hair, right? But before you get to this point where you're deciding, okay, I am embracing my natural hair, there's a before where there's mental health stuff going on, people saying things, people making you feel a certain way. There's some self esteem stuff, confidence things, and then this transition happens, but the transition doesn't only happen outside, it also happens inside. Even more so inside, maybe, than outside.
yeah. No, I agree with you. I think there's a great sense of anxiety because I think we place a lot of significance and weight on how we look and our appearance. And I do believe that obviously it is important, how we look and how we dress and how we present ourselves to the world. And I think for colored women and for Black women, we've a certain look has always been imposed as I think women across the border, across I think racial lines, there's always been a certain look that has been um, projected onto us, like you must look a certain way and da da da. But more so, and research has found this more so for colored women and for Black women, or for women of color,
Yeah.
that there's a look has been opposed and projected onto us that we need to look more westernized more than anything
Yes.
else. So if we take it from that angle as well, from that perspective as well, um, of course there's going to be this. Oh my gosh, am I going to look right?
Mm.
Am I look presentable?
Yes.
Am I going to be professional enough?
Mm.
So all of this. So yes, it does because it is a psychological process. And in my field as a marketing, somebody that practices marketing, um, in my field, it's also known as the consumer decision making process. So you have this thing where I want a certain look, which is now in this point, I want to wear my hair natural. So that is the desired look. And so there's a discrepancy between what you desire to be or what you desire to look like or how you want to present yourself to the world and your current status. So there's a
Yeah.
discrepancy between the actual state and the desired state. So along with that comes a lot of anxiety. And I think because of society, because of media, as well as just not even going outside your house, just going into your family. I
Mm.
think with your family, it's even almost like it's even worse because your family ascribes, oh, you like your mom always say, no, you're not leaving this house looking like that.
Mm.
So we grew up with that, and what are you wearing? And hoe lyk jy soos daai en doen iets aan yourself and doen iets aan jou hare. So
Yeah.
I think because of that, and we can sort of not blame our parents or those older than us, and
Mm.
those in authoritative positions because they've been um, groomed and their perceptions have been almost polished a certain way to think
Yes.
that a certain look and a certain aesthetic is the only way. And so
Mm.
that is almost now being opposed onto us as this
Mm.
generation. But now this is where this narrative is changing because, like, I don't need to wear straight hair. I don't need to relax my hair. I don't need to blow dry it. It doesn't need to be straight. So all of that. So now you have to. It's a mental fight just with yourself, then with the people in your immediate circles, and then further when you leave the house and when you have to present yourself to the world. Um,
Yes.
it's this anxiety, a lot of anxiety where you're like, am I going to look right? What are
Mm.
people going to say? I remember my feelings in self. I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to look right? And how am I going to react when
Yes.
somebody does say something horrible about my hair or about how I look? And so I think that is part of the process. But I think for me, because I've experienced it myself, both on social media as well as somebody in person, um, and in my family as well, I think that the one thing that because I took quite some time in this process of when I did the big chop, um, I took some time. I did a lot of reading. I
Mm.
did a lot of research before I did it. So
Mm.
that was my saving grace was because I
Yes.
was an informed individual
Mm.
before I just then did the big job, and so I knew how to react. In fact, I didn't most of the time. I didn't react to anybody. I walked on. I did my thing. I still loved my life. I still
Mm.
wore my hair the way I chose to wear my hair because I knew that this was personal. Me chopping off my hair, me wearing my hair natural. It's really not about anybody else. That is secondary. So whether or not you pay me a compliment really is not going to affect the way that I feel about
Yes.
my natural hair.
Yes. Great. So you touched on something very important. So we're going to go over onto the viewers' questions. One of the viewers asked, "How did natural hair for you become okay to wear that as your professional look?" Because, like you said, professional is usually your hare is uitgeblou, die perm is in, everything is fine. So, how did you become comfortable when you went through this transition, just being you, being comfortable in your own skin, being comfortable with who you are?
So again, it comes back to preparation because if you're just gonna one day decide, boom, and not be prepared, some people do that where they just, oh, I'm gonna cut off my hair today.
Mm,
Some people do it. As for the rest of us, I think it's preparation. Like I said, for me,
yes.
it was about reading. It was about um, not just reading, but also consuming the information about knowing how to look after my hair, knowing how to nourish it, knowing that it looks good and that it's healthy. So
Mm,
I, we are so fascinated by length and things like that. Most of the time, people with long hair, their hair is unhealthy. So
mm,
it's about the health of the hair. So I think for me, in a professional state, I worked at the time that I was transitioning into my big job for my natural hair. Yeah, I was working at a very corporate company. I was in the brand department, marketing and branding department, and it was welcomed actually.
mm,
Um, my manager was like, "Oh, you're doing something else with your hair." nobody had any problem. So as far
Yes.
as I know, from a legal point of view, there's nothing. They can't fire you, for instance,
Yeah.
for wearing your hair in its natural state because it's not. There's no health and safety risk, right? So
Mm.
from a legal perspective, as far as I know, it's not.
Mm.
So it was actually welcome in my place of work. Given that I am in the marketing department.
Mm.
In other areas, it might be a bit difficult, especially if you like in a legal firm or something like that. But I actually have a very close friend that she's a CA, and she wears a natural.
Right.
Um,
Mm.
and also her experience in the beginning was some, I think, very male dominant guys that made comments about the hair, but overall she said like there's nothing,
Mm.
it's welcome. Then she wears a hair. Some days it's a fro, some days it's plaited, some days it's in
Yes.
twist, and it's all welcome. So
Mm.
I think you know what, eh? It's the confidence that you exude, um, and it comes down to preparation. It really
Mm.
comes down to preparation, and if your intentions for when you're in natural, if those are pure, if I can
Yeah.
use that term. But overall, for me, it's just about I exuded the confidence. I was prepared. I knew why I was doing it. And so everything else kind of didn't fade. And from a legal point of view,
Mm.
they can't fire you, for instance,
Yes.
for wearing your hair unless it is a health and safety hazard.
Mm. And I think why people always ask that is because even young girls going to school, it always seems to be such a contested topic, even at school. Like, what is neat? What it's the same like those discourses. Almost, it's going to take time for those discourses to change. What is neat? What is professional? What is beautiful? Because there's a certain discourse or certain thinking related to those terms.
So this is where it comes back to really, and again, it really comes down back to this point of how certain policies were put in place. Certain policies were put in place on in the previous regime,
Yeah.
where a certain aesthetic. And it takes me back to a reading that I've done and literature that I've covered. In that, when the slaves were taken from Africa onto the ships to the UK and to the US, the first thing that they did was that they shaved off all their hair.
Yeah.
And you had to, whatever you brought along with you, the African slaves at the time, whatever they brought along from Africa, that they had to leave on the boat. So it
Mm.
was almost a means, and I quote some of the writers that I've, and in the reading that I've done, is like almost to strip Africans from their Africanness,
Mm.
because all of these oils and the rituals and now taking care of your hair and the organic living and herbal living, that is not something new to us
Yes.
as African people.
Yeah.
It is something that's innate to us. So for
Mm.
centuries and centuries, our fathers and our ancestors and people that lived, in that time, we used nature to cook and clean
Mm.
and heal ourselves, of
Mm.
wounds and things like that. So this thing is it's just now become more commercialized, these oils and organic and herbal, like it's part of our innate um habits and
History based.
behavior as
Uh,
people, as black people. So I think that is in terms thereof also, like the policies that were put together was to strip us of our Africanness,
mm.
Africanism and our African heritage and our rituals and our African ancestry. That's the word I'm looking for. It was there to strip us of that. And so that's why I say he is political. You can't tell me that he is not political. And you cannot tell me that we are exaggerating or that I'm
Yes.
exaggerating
Yes.
about hair being so political. It is political, it is spiritual, it is deeply spiritual, and it is religious as well at the end of the day. So I
Yeah.
think also, so that is the one. And also, if you look back and especially now in the last number of years, with these cases of black young girls being almost discriminated against or being treated with so much bias because of wearing their hair natural. It's because the
Mm.
policies haven't changed. The policies um, are still based on an apartheid regime that hasn't been changed. And I
Yeah.
find even in 2020, in 2019, after uh, the Zuleika Patel's that protest, schools are still, the government was reactive instead of being proactive during
Yeah.
that. I think
Mm.
that should have, especially because it received so much
So much.
attention.
Yeah.
It received, and they did not
Mm.
change anything. So that's where it comes from. So I also feel like we have responsibility because natural women are always seem to be very rebellious, and we
Mm.
are rebellious, but I think it needs to be kind of not tamed.
Mm.
It needs to be navigated in a better way. Um, but just because your hair is natural, especially as a child, there are different styles that you can use to wear your hair to school, but still natural, because natural in itself does only means that you don't relax or use any chemicals to change or alter the appearance and natural growth and texture and curl pattern of the hair.
Mm.
So that has got nothing to do, because if my daughter one day tells me that she wants to wear afro to school, I would be like, no, that is not
Mm.
school appropriate. However,
Mm.
on a Friday and a Saturday, that would be appropriate.
Mm.
So, because it's school, so there's a responsibility, and it's a two-way street that has
Mm.
to go.
Yes. Great. So I'm going to ask you some of the viewers' other questions. So the one viewer wants to know products, products, products. When I'm transitioning, what products? So I'll ask both questions. The one is about products. The other viewer wants to know, I am transitioning at the moment. I prefer when my hair is wet. That's the only time I really like the way my hair looks. Do you have any advice what I can do? Because I end up just covering my hair.
Okay, so while you are transitioning, look, the main thing while you are transitioning, especially with products, is that you need to use products because your hair has been damaged because of the chemicals and using products with chemicals in. So the hair is stripped from its natural moisture. The hair is damaged, and as well as heat. So the main thing while transitioning, and I remember doing this quite religiously while I was transitioning, is that you have to use products that has the correct ingredients in, or products with the least amount of chemicals in it. So this is where these new terms or more terms that have been becoming more and more commercialized now is to use products that are sulfate free, paraben free, with no silicones, and to use organic products
Mm.
or natural hair care products now, because you need to now almost rebuild your hair basically.
Mm.
From It's like literally you have to rebuild your hair now because your hair has been exposed to all of these chemicals and damage and the heat as well. So the hair has literally there's nothing really, especially if you've been using relaxers and chemical treatments, etc., for an extensive amount of time.
Mm.
So the main thing is here that you need to use products that will rebuild the hair and rebuild the fiber and the moisture and the protein needs to be locked back into the
Yeah.
hair. So the main thing is to use so go to your vanity or to your you have to go to your vanity case or your toiletries and like check what is sulfate free. Go check the ingredients, chuck that out. You have to buy and invest in a good sulfate free shampoo. Then also you have to get a good leave-in conditioner. So there's a difference obviously between a leave-in conditioner and a conditioner. So the
Mm.
leave-in conditioner is meant to be left in there. It's exactly what the product says. Then obviously your conditioner. So the conditioner is not meant to be left in there. It is not formulated to operate in that manner. That's why after a while, after like a day or two, you've left the conditioner in, you'll feel your hair is hard or it's like
Yes.
foul. It's
Mm.
because the conditioner wasn't meant to be left on the hair. Then you have to do like a weekly deep conditioner or deep conditioning, a DC, a deep conditioning treatment, or a hair mask,
Yes.
and you need to stick to it. Also, you don't need to wet your hair every day. You have to you spritz it to and that is called the process of hydration. It's just literally adding water to your hair, but it doesn't need to be soaking wet. Okay,
Mm.
so ain't nobody got time to wet hair every day and no. So you spritz it away and it's just hydrating your hair. So then you apply on a daily basis your leave-in conditioner. So the reason why you hydrate your hair is so that the products can be easily applied to it. If you've ever put on product on dry hair, you will see that it's a struggle. So the
Mm.
hydration makes it easy for the product to be absorbed into the hair. So that's the three main things. When I started out, there was literally nothing on the market. I think Dr. Miracles was the one product that, like, yes, you have to, you have to, you have to.
Yes.
So literally, what works for the one person will not work for you. You can also alternatively keep the conditioner that you do have now and then just do a co-wash with it. So
Mm.
co-wash is literally just washing your hair or cleansing your hair with conditioner. So you're not wasting it for that matter. So that's, I think products take up a huge part of any natural's journey. Did I answer both parts of the question?
Yes. So this is how I met Simone because I went to go buy loads of products. I was like, oh, tonight I'm gonna wash my hair and tomorrow I'm gonna wake up natural. And I sent Simone a picture and I was like, oh, these are the right products. And she said, no, take all of that back. They had sulfate and parabens and all the bad words that I never heard about. So yeah, that's how we met. Simone, and then also the question porosity, porosity, porosity. We got so many more questions about porosity. Could you explain porosity to us, please?
Okay. So porosity, and again, disclaimer: I am not a trachologist. I'm not a dermatologist either. Okay. I So porosity is your hair's ability to absorb and to retain moisture. I will say that again.
Yes.
Porosity is your hair's ability or degree or level in which the hair is able to absorb and to retain the moisture. Okay. So this is where also you've probably heard about the hair typing system comes in as well. Okay. So the hair typing system was designed by Mr. Walker many years ago. He's actually Oprah Winfrey's hairstylist. He's always been since, yeah, for the last 25 or plus years, he's been Oprah's hairstylist. So he's got his own hairline, and then he then developed, with the return of natural hair about 10 years ago, he then developed a system called the hair typing system. So the hair typing system initially, the purpose thereof is for you to be able to identify your hair pattern or curling pattern, and then this would then indicate to you what kind of products you need to use, light or heavy products. So,
Mm.
um,
I've heard of that
but
before, actually, because some people, this one girl that I met when I went overseas, she told me, because I was like, oh my word, your curls are beautiful. And she said, what do you have on your hair? And I said, why? I was like, I bought these products and whatever. And she was like, it's too heavy. And I was like, what do you mean it's too heavy? You know?
that So your A type, for example, you have like a type 2 or type 1A, like you've got the slant somewhere in there. I've got certain sections of my head as a type 3 and certain sections are type 4, right? And that is now just the Lord made me like that.
Yes.
Um, you would not use the same products that I would use because my hair is the curls are much tighter close to each
Mm.
other. So my hair hugs, they curl up and then they hug each other. Your
Yes.
hair, no love. They don't like hugging. So they social distancing your
Yo,
curls.
they are so social distancing. Like I was like, okay, I need to bring out the natural Nancy's today, but yo, they sit there and
So your so your hair is used to social distancing. My hair is not used to social. So my
it's my
hugs each other.
microscope.
My yeah. So I did a wash earlier on to and I combed it out anyway. But my
Yes.
curl is much tighter, so the coil is much tighter, whereas yours is wavier, right? Or that's very loose.
I blame my mother because the older I get, the straighter my hair gets, just like
Oh
her. The older
wow.
she gets, like she's got zero curl left. Because I actually
Oh
had a
wow.
curl back when I was younger, I remember my mom actually allowed me to wear my hair curly quite often. She
Often,
preferred me
okay.
wearing it curly.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
as I got older, I was like, no, I want straight there, I want straight there,
yeah.
you know? So
I
yeah.
think there's a lot to do with age, as you say, but it also has a lot to do with hormones,
Yes.
unfortunately. And as females, that is now just that's how God made us. So we
Yes.
deal, right? So your hair is porosity. So you get different types of porosity, and I must say, the one is not better or worse off than the other. It is just how it is. It's how
Mm.
the chemical, not chemical. It is just how it is made, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong. The one isn't better than the other. There is this kind of observation, and yeah, I can't now uh, give further detail, but there is this observation, and I've got science to kind of back it up as well, that if you have a certain type A, type 2, type 3, that is perceived as being much better, or more liked and much more popular, and it receives much more attention in the media again, and it receives a lot of attention just overall. And people often think when they go natural, oh, I want that curl, a type 2.
Mm.
And then your hair shows you, no, actually, you have a type 4.
Yeah.
And so where the type 4 hair is considered less attractive. So the type 4A is obviously it's kinkier, thicker, and also the coils are much closer to each other, like mine. Mine is, um, and so there's this. I often call it like a hierarchy. So there's
Mm.
this hierarchy of what is better and what is not better. And so the more
Hierarchy, that's good.
desired curl, yeah, the more desired curl is the type 2 and type 3, right?
Mm.
And media has a lot to play against in this perception as well. And then as well as again politics, and racial discrimination has a lot to play, that
Yeah.
have contributed to this notion,
Mm.
because everybody wants the wave, and the wave is much more, if you have European ancestry or bloodline
Yeah.
in your lineage,
Yeah.
and the type 4 is more obviously more African.
So
um
we are saying bye to hierarchies. Bye to
yeah, no
hierarchies.
hierarchies for me. I don't even get into that conversation any
Yeah.
longer, because the whole movement and the whole thinking and motivation and rationale behind the natural hair movement is to embrace your natural hair and to love your hair as it comes out of your root, right?
Yeah.
Was not having to manipulate it to be straight or anything. So now
Mm.
within that, there seems to still be this
Yes.
desire for naturally, but a certain curl type.
Yes.
So that notion needs to be debunked. And again, you can see how deeply rooted this issue
Mm.
really is, and the effect of racial discrimination and discrimination against black textured hair has received over the years. So
Yeah.
back to porosity. So you see how all of these are mixed in between, and it becomes highly, gosh, it's emotionally taxing.
Mm.
That is why I think that's why most of the time I just keep my hair this length, just to debunk certain um thinkings that are out there. So porosity, you get three different types. You get a high, a low, and then you get normal. Again, there's nothing wrong with either of it. It is just your hair's biochemical makeup done. So if you have a high porosity, it just means that your hair, just like your skin, is highly porous, meaning that there's lots of holes in, or that it is the way that your hair absorbs the moisture. So sometimes your hair absorbs the moisture quickly, but it doesn't retain it.
Mm.
Okay? So that's high porosity. And you can do three tests. You can test it in a glass of water, you can test it with spritz, or you can test it with just your hand like this. Right? So if you have highly porous hair, your hair will sink in the glass. You can take clean hair, so you need to take clean, freshly washed hair. Take a few strands, put it in the glass. Then if it sinks, then it means that you have highly porous hair, which means that it absorbs moisture quickly, but it doesn't retain it. If your hair floats on top of the glass, it means that you have low porosity, which means your hair takes long to absorb moisture or water, but it also retains it longer. Then if your hair sinks in, but it kind of stops in the middle, then you have normal, right? So it absorbs moisture quickly, but it also retains it quite. Then you can also do, and we did this well, we didn't know it at the time, but in the morning when you were going to school, on primary school, my hair used to call, we used to call it suiker gesteel. We used to say it's suiker that your ma's suiker gesteel because it will crystallize on your hair.
Yes.
So that's a test. But now you can do it with a water spritzer bottle. Oh, yeah, that's so funny. So then what you can do is just spritz. Or in the morning, if your hair is blow dried and you are brave enough to go in the mist. I'm brave enough because my arm mansi me. So you spritz it on. If you see the spritzing, it crystallizes. It means that it has got high porosity. If it crystallizes but it disappears, it's low porosity. Okay? If it crystallizes but it stays on longer than that, then it's normal. So again, if you have high porosity, it means that you can use heavier products such as coconut oil, castor oil, or any products that contain that. And then if you have low porosity, I have low porosity, so I use lighter products. Or I can use a butter, for example, a hair butter, shea butter, but I shouldn't use it as often. So I have to alternate between the two.
Okay. So, last question. Someone wants to know, one of the viewers, she wants to start a brand, right? She wants to know, how do you go about starting a brand? Where do you find these opportunities? How do you get buy-in? Just the whole, she wants to start, but she doesn't know where and how.
You know what? I think for me, it was about finding a niche. It was finding a niche that understands certain concepts and certain lingo. So not everybody understands a swirlcoast. Not everybody understands what it means for you to mince, right? Not everybody understands and can identify with me. So I needed to find that niche within this industry called the natural hair care industry, which forms part of a bigger industry, a hair care industry, and the hair care industry forms part of a bigger industry called the beauty and cosmetics industry. So I had to find my niche, and it's really about being true and being authentic. I think the worst thing is putting yourself out there and not being true and being authentic. Because people will just find out that you are not true. Okay?
Yes.
You
And
need
they
to
will
find
rip
things.
you apart. People have no filter.
Yeah, no filter. Especially with social media, where people think and believe that they can just say and do anything that they like. It is not that kind of party. And especially because social media plays such a big role and consumes so much of our time and how we communicate. So that is naturally your one of the strategies. It should not be your only strategy. It is a strategy. So it is about being authentic. It's about finding your niche. I always tell my students, rather have 10,000 loyal customers than going after 100,000 loyal customers, because you've got 10,000 loyal customers, which that you can benefit and almost guarantee a certain sales or intake. Again, I would say that it needs to be something that you are passionate about. I always tell people, like, KroesRocks is something that I started, but I didn't know that it had this potential that it had. So I'll watch it, but I also don't. I let everything happen genetically and naturally. I don't force something. only because I think one of the reasons, only because that I don't really have the capacity of time at this moment in my life to kind of pursue KroesRocks
Mm.
in all of our glory. Because I think that
Mm.
if I should, then it would grow a little faster than what it is now. But just because I don't have the capacity,
Yes.
um, so be authentic, something that you're passionate about, find your niche, and make sure that it grows genetically. And also, I think it must be something that I feel like, don't just now go and sell t-shirts because everybody else is selling t-shirts. You get what
Yes.
I'm saying?
Yes.
Um,
Definitely.
like, what is unique to you? You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? And it must come from a good place, man. Like, I
Mm.
feel it must come from a good place. Um, yeah, and I think it's also part of my personality. I think also plays a very, very
Vital role.
big role as part of it. So I like I won't call myself a fashionista or something like that. Even
Mm.
though some people have come to me like, oh, you always look good, your clothes always this and that, and I'm
Yes.
like, yeah, I just like do what works for me. So I'm
Yeah.
not gonna go and call myself a stylist or a fashionista or something like
Yes.
that. But it must be something that you are innate. It must be natural to you, man.
Mm.
It must be natural to you as well.
I also
And
think
again, you have to acquaint yourself with lots of information. Like,
yes.
information is key.
Mm. I also think you have to grow a really thick skin because you have to put yourself out there. Not everyone's gonna like what you are doing. Some people won't agree with what you do, and you have to be absolutely fine with that because you need to know why you started what you started.
There we
And
go.
sometimes that's not always because you're gonna get monetary value out of it. Sometimes
Yeah,
it's deeper than that. And for many times, a brand has to be deeper than money only because money only comes way down the line.
way down the line.
It
Yeah,
takes loads of sleepless nights before you even start seeing money. So
facts.
I think growing a thick skin and also the other thing with the whole thing with the she is you as well. It's about supporting each other. So learning from each other. Simone was willing to share her knowledge with us today. There's other ladies we're going to interview that's willing to share their knowledge and be that person that shares your knowledge. Don't try and keep everything for yourself because there's enough sunshine in this world for all
Oh,
of us.
everyone.
All of us.
I
So,
I agree 100%.
muni nervous pa magkani.
No, 100%. And I think there is space for everybody. And I
Yeah.
found my space. And I'm not just taking up that space, I'm occupying that space. But it is also because, like you say, a brand needs to be born out. It needs to be really born because you're wanting. And I think the reason why KroesRocks exists, and the core of this brand, is to change a narrative, to change an understanding and perception, especially around colored women and around
Yeah.
how we've been portrayed, number one, in the media, and how we look at ourselves, and also making sure that the next generation of colored girls and colored boys, that they would understand and love themselves and love who they are. Because I feel like we are so ashamed the moment we find out, oh, that I've got a German great grandfather, then brag je meer or your German great grandfather,
Wat jy nooit geken het nie.
that you never knew. So we're very proud of that. But we
Yeah.
don't we're not proud of the fact that we are from Africa, that we are Africans, and that we
Yes.
were born here in this rich country. And I always say that Eleanor, what is the woman's name now again? I can't get to her name, but the president of Niger, or former president of Niger, she said that Africa is very rich. We've just been poorly managed.
Yes.
Um, and I completely agree with her.
Mhm.
And I think that, especially for colored people as well, we need to be portrayed better in the media and in
Mhm.
our society. And also, the reason any brand that exists needs to contribute to the upliftment and the development, and the sustainability of a society.
Definitely. With that, we're going to say thank you, Simone. Thank you very much for your time. You guys can go follow on KroesRocks. Please tell them where they can find you.
So definitely on Facebook. I am on Facebook at KroesRocks, KroesRocks, as well as Instagram. And then I also have my personal profile, Simone Thomas, if you'd like to join or just like, yeah, keep up to date with pop-up shops, naturally events. The KroesRocks Hookup is taking place on the 6th of June. Hopefully, we are not in any further lockdowns.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can follow that or on my email, which is info@KroesRocks.co.za.
Where can they find your merchandise? Is there
The
online space?
Yeah, so basically you have to send me an email to say this is the t-shirt that you want, this is the size that you want. Then you can pay via like an EFT via your banking app or whatever the case may be. Then from there have it delivered. So normally within if you live like within Cape Town, it's like a day, maximum 2 days. If it's outside of Cape Town, it can take anything between 5 and 7 days.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and Cape, watch out for the pop-up shops and things like that,
Yeah.
where you can get it without the delivery fee.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Simone, once again.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me.